Hello. You know when you have an orchestral track and you have the drums and percussion and they're just not cutting through, they're there, but you want to give them a bit more oomph and snap to cut through the mix? Well, that's exactly what I had with this mix, so I thought I'd just quickly take you through that to see what I did, and hopefully some of that might be useful for you. So let's have a quick look through. This is the track that we have. I'll just loop the certain area so we get used to the sound and everything that's in there. So that's the normal drums, which are on there with nothing on it, and then I will swap between these two here. That's the finished version, and that's the original. Okay, so hopefully you can hear the difference between those two. There's not that much difference, but the new version has more snap, a bit more bite, and more oomph. That technical musical term, oomph. It's very handy. So I will just listen to the original drums. Nice. It's just lacking something. Generally, overall pretty good. I didn't have access to individual parts. I only have that in there. So let's go over to the treated version. So you can hear, if you listen to the bass end, it's very similar. Get rid of that. Oh, wrong one. And then, so I haven't really changed much in the bass. It's more of the top end. It's got more grit, a bit more snap and punch in it. So I'll just take you through everything that I added in there. So we have the original, and then with the EQ first, just to get rid of what I don't like. I'm very much a subtractive EQer initially. Get rid of anything that just isn't going to be nice for me. So we have this low end, just boomy and boxy, don't like that at all. And over this area that you can see that I'm taking out is already in the mix with other parts. You've got plenty of strings, there are synth parts and a little bit more percussion, and even the brass is around this area. So I just wanted to clear some of that out so they don't compete too much. So that's just nasty. And then, where are we? That one. A bit of sort of knocking sound, just didn't like that at all. And this top end, as I said earlier, I'm actually using the processes that I'm applying to add a little bit more grit and top end to these percussive part, or this percussive part. So it's maybe a bit strange that I'm actually taking this off, which would help it cut through. But as you'll see later, I'm adding quite a bit more aggression and top end. So just pulling this back a bit just compensated for what I added, basically. So that's all that's doing. And you can see it's only a little bit. After that, I went to my favorite channel strip. I do love Sheps's Omni channel. There's just so much in here that you can play with. It is ridiculous. But in this instance, I've only used the pre and the EQ on here. The lovely thing in the pre, apart from the saturation, which I'm not using this time, is the thump, a little transient thing that just does lovely stuff when you want it, particularly on percussive, big sounding. It just gives that extra bit of a knock. I often use it if I've got a mix in and it's already been limited and the peak's just been chopped off. I can give a bit more life back in with either the 2 or 4 dB setting. 2 is the normal and 4 gives a bit more. Makes sense. It rhymes and I'm a poet, and I did not know it. So I've got this thump in here, and if I'll just turn this on, oh no, I can do it on the thump. We just do a little comparison. That's just a bit nice and flat. That's just got a bit more. Yeah, that's boring. And then that just comes to life. Really nice. Onto the EQ. Then this is in mid-side mode. So on the left-hand side here you have the mids, and on the right you have the sides. Not doing anything down here in these two, the mid and the lows. I've got the high mids and the high. So you've got a shelf up here. And on the mids I'm just doing about 5.5 kilohertz up, and let's have a listen to that. Very subtle. I mean, you can just hear that extra snap. It's in the middle, and on the top, where are we? 9.5 kilohertz. Very much top end. That little bit of a sizzle right at the top. So if we have a listen, I'll take that off. Very subtle, and the same on the side. Little bit of aggression. That little bit of a tone of that drum to cut through on the side. And I'm using the mid side because I wanted to give that little bit of a width, where you can add the high end on the sides, which just brings that forward a bit more, but also gives the impression of a little bit more width to the part. And oh yeah, I've got this on here as well. Forgot about that. On the side, that little knocking sound that I just found, and I thought, yep, like that. Gives a little bit more definition to that part on the sides. So let's get rid of that. So now we'll go to the decapitator from Sound Toys, which is the bit that adds the extra oomph and tone to the drums. I've got that on, yeah, fully wet. The styles here along the bottom are just their different versions, and I just literally click through. I don't want to know what each one does. It purely is what they affect, how they affect the sound. So if I just go through these, that's just kind of nice. That one's added a little bit more snap to the top end. That's a bit dull. Ooh, hello. That's getting a bit more naughty. And then that's gone a bit more distorted. So I just want that one as a basic starter to have that there. And then I've got the thump button on. And the next bit, of course, is this wonderful punish button, which it won't be too disastrous, and I won't play it too long with full, but here we go, the difference. That's nice. So we don't want all of that because that's just going to really mess things up. So I'm going to pull down the mix to about 20%, turn it back on. And if I turn that off, it's just on here. Gives that snap. So I like that. So that's what I did to that track to give those drums a bit more oomph. So I've got another one here just to go through as a comparison, but we'll just hear the difference between those. Which one am I trying to do? Do that. Okay, so that's the original. Don't want both. Now, another approach that I took was to see with some parallel compression. So I've taken these original drums and copied them to this channel. And let's turn that off. Compression or parallel compression, I'm using it in the original way it was used, which is you would copy or send what you want to compress to another channel, compress that, and then mix that in or blend it in with the original. It just very often you can be quite aggressive with it and squish that track. It gives a nice bit of body and a little bit of an extra kick to what you're parallel compressioning. I'm sure that's a word. So let's have a listen to how I did that. Let's take these off. We've got again the approach of just getting rid of what I don't like, which is similar here for those two here. But I did also roll off this bottom end because I don't want that in my parallel compression. No, wrong one. Let's do that. All that sub energy I just don't want in there, so get rid of that. Don't want to compound that. And the DBX I used from Waves, the 160, and it's a fixed attack and release. So I've got my threshold set up, and it's a 2.3. I'd probably use a 2 to 3 to 1 compression ratio, and that's just some compensation, nothing else really. Got the high pass filter on, but then I've filtered off the low end anyway, so that's just there because it's nothing fancy. You will see that I've taken off about 5 to 10 dB, which is quite a bit. And it's squished. Let's put that up. So the original, you've got the life, the width, depth to it, and then when you turn that on, it's just squished it, but you are getting that snap. But also if you hear the lower end to it as well, it's just sitting there. And if I turn that off, the low end's just gone, back on. It's got that body to sit there. So if I push this back down, and we'll add that to the original drums. We'll just hear it isolated first, and then on. And if we do that in the mix, so hopefully you can hear that difference, similar to what I did with the distortion on the other drum part. So now might as well add it to that version. So we've got my process drums plus the parallel compression drums. Ooh, yeah, I forgot to have that on. Did I do anything with that? No, I didn't. Okay. Oh yes, I did. I narrowed the drums. There we go. I forgot that. So I've got it down to 50% here, down on the width. So I forgot all about that. So if I turn that up, so that's nice halfway, just to give more of the punch in the middle of the mix. I've turned that off. Here it goes to the sides. So I just wanted to center it, give more of a drive in the center part. Yeah, okay. Glad I remembered that. Right, so let's turn that off. So this is, ooh, turn that down as well, the mix with the process drums, and then I shall bring in the parallel compressed drums along with it. And then it's a bit, oh, let's do a quick, can I link those? That should, will it do it? Hang on, so if I just, yep, okay. All right, so I can then do a last comparison of the original drums compared with the processed, along with the parallel compressed as well at the same time. So here we go. The original. There you have it. Hopefully you find that useful and pick up any little tips from there. I had fun doing, like any mix, it's always a fun thing just to try something different or use an effect or plugin that I haven't used for ages. So I mean, that's what I did with the decapitator. It's, you know, something just goes out of favor and suddenly you find it again, and I used it in that part there. I hope you find that useful. See you later. Bye-bye.